Hey guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. We're not doing a yoga mini today. Today's video is in regards to a concern that someone has brought to my attention. It's a specific area of the body that we are going to learn a couple stretches that aren't necessarily yoga poses, a couple exercises, and then I will throw in a couple poses to help really stretch and strengthen this area so that we can safely build upon our yoga practice. Little disclaimer, most of you probably know I'm not a doctor and I am not a physical therapist. I am a certified yoga teacher and I do have a certain level of training to sort of know anatomy and physiology, and I learn about injuries in my classes, but these videos are not designed to replace your medical treatment. If you have an injury, go to your doctor, go to the ER, get medical treatment, do your physical therapy if it's required, and revisit these videos when you feel ready and when your injury has healed a little bit. I always tell my students, listen to your body. You're the only person that can feel those sensations. You're the only person that knows exactly what's going on inside your body. And if you feel numbness, pinching especially, pain especially, these are signs that you need to ease out of whatever yoga posture that you're in and sort of readjust and maybe come back in. If you're taking one of my videos and you feel pain and pinching, and you're not sure if your alignment's correct, you're not sure what modification you can take, just stop. Stop what you're doing, wait for me to move to a different posture and try that one and see if it works better for you. If you're in a group class and what the teacher is suggesting isn't working for you, there are always variations. There are always modifications that the instructor can give you. Or if nothing's working, take a child's pose. Wait until they've moved on in the sequence and come back in. There is no shame in listening to your body. There's none at all. There's no reason that you should feel like it's embarrassing for you to listen to your body, to honor your space, and to stop what you're doing if it doesn't feel right. So, moving on. I had a friend of mine. She reached out to me a couple of days ago, maybe a week or so ago, and she wants to start practicing yoga, but she's not quite sure if it's safe. The reason being is because she has had multiple ankle sprains and they have healed, so that would ideally mean that she could practice. However, she's experiencing some clicking and popping that's a little concerning to her in the ankle that was affected, and she's just not sure if that's okay, which is totally understandable. I haven't looked at the injured ankle to see what's going on and to assess further. I only know what her and I have discussed on a few comments on a Facebook thread. So keeping that in mind, I have a guess as to what's going on here, and I'm going to show you what I think is going on. I'm going to show you how we can gently start to stretch and ease this issue, strengthen the ankles, so then we can move on and build onto our practice when you feel like it's safe and ready. So I'm gonna come down to the ground and talk to you about this a little bit. I'm gonna move my camera just slightly so that I can show you what I think might be going on here. As you may or may not already know, we have tendons and we have ligaments. Tendons attach muscle to bone, ligaments attach bone to bone. So we're dealing with a tendon that's attaching a muscle of the leg to the bone of the ankle or the heel. So what I'm thinking is that we're dealing with peroneal tendonitis here. The peroneal tendon, there are two. There's the peroneal brevis and the longus. And I believe the brevis attaches to the arch of the foot, underneath the arch of the foot here, and the longus attaches to the outside of the pinky toe or the fifth metatarsal. So these tendons go from the fibia, which we have the tibia and the fibia of the leg. they attach from here, and the muscles up here, they go down the fibia and around the notch in the ankle here, that part that sticks out, and they sit under there and then attach to that arch and to that pinky toe. And these tendons are responsible for eversion, moving the foot outward away from the midline. And what happens is when we sprain the ankle, typically what we're doing is we're rolling the ankle inward. And these tendons that are responsible for eversion are then hyperextended past their normal range of motion. And then when we sprain, we heal from the sprain, but we've still got some issues going on in those tendons that were overworked. So that is my guess as to what's going on here. Now there could also be some Achilles tendonitis. The Achilles attaches the calf muscle to the heel. There could have also been something going on in there. Personally, I just finished my Accutane treatment and I had tendonitis in my ankles the entire time. That's one of the most common side effects of Accutane, which is for your skin, is to get muscle pain, joint pain, and with that comes tendon pain as well, I guess. And I had some popping and clicking in my ankles, and I could actually see the tendons sort of tightening in that area under the ankle. I can actually feel them with my hand. I can still feel it a little bit. It's getting much better now that I finished my treatment. But another thing that can happen is these peroneal tendons can luxate. They sit in a groove here, and sometimes, whether it's from them being so tight or for other reasons, they can actually flip out of that groove. And it's not always necessarily painful. It rarely requires surgery to fix it. The feeling is alarming, and it's a weird feeling, and the popping and the clicking and the snapping can be uncomfortable. So that is my guess as to what is going on, and is some either the luxating of the peroneal tendon or peroneal tendonitis. And I can show you here some stretches and some exercises that will help ease the swelling from the tendonitis, as well as some exercises to strengthen the calf muscles, to strengthen the soleus muscle and the tendons themselves. So I'm going to grab a couple things here that you should have laying around your house. I'm going to take a towel here, and we're going to take our little hand towel and fold it long ways. And then we're just going to roll it. And then we're going to take this rolled up towel, placing it under the affected ankle so that it's just propped up a little bit. It's easier for you to move around. I don't know if you can see that. And then from here, we're kind of already in staff pose or Dandasana. You can take your hands, placing them at the hips, and just using the core to help keep the back straight, lifting through here, softening the shoulders. Hands are gently at your sides, depending on how long your arms are. The elbows might bend, they might not. And from here, we can just start by pointing and flexing the feet. If you are experiencing a pretty serious injury, this might just feel good to wake up those ankles. All of these exercises and stretches that I'm going to show you are great if you've got an injury here and you want to go to a group class or you want to do one of my YouTube videos. Doing this first is going to help you specifically warm up this area, because we don't typically do this at the beginning of every yoga class, but this is going to help you warm up that area so it's less susceptible to injury. So after you've sort of woken up the ankles, they might pop and click a little bit. If you have a resistance band or a strap at home that you can use, that would be ideal. I don't have either of those things, so I'm taking a accessory belt that I had in my closet, and I just brought the belt through the loop, and I'm going to put it around one of my ankles or one of my feet here. Whatever foot is the affected foot, you're gonna put that around there, bringing it into the same hand or both hands. Now we want to relax the feet, maybe adjusting that towel, relaxing the feet, and you're just going to use that belt or that strap to pull the foot towards you. You don't want to use the ankle itself. You want to completely release the foot in order to stretch better. If you're engaging the muscles, they're not necessarily going to get the best stretch as if you're stretching them by pulling the foot towards you while it's completely relaxed. Now you can do that. You could hold for 30 seconds and release and repeat that maybe 3 times to start out, or if you need less, then do less. Eventually you could probably work up to doing this many, many times, however many times feels right to you and feels good. As long as there's no pain, there's no harm in doing this however many times you feel like. You could, if both of your ankles were affected, like mine were, I had tendonitis in both of my ankles for the last 6 months. So both of my ankles and my feet and everything could use this right now. So I'm gonna do both. If you're just working on one area, you can do that. In yoga, we often find that just stretching one side is not a very comfortable thing to do. If we miss a posture on one side, it bothers us the rest of the day because then we feel uneven. So if you want to stretch both sides because you need that evenness, then feel free. So then we'll release that. The next thing that you can do is, this works better with a resistance band. You would take that resistance band, loop it like I have on my foot, then you're gonna take that around the other foot, outside the pinky edge of the unaffected foot, and into the hand of the unaffected foot. So let's say my right ankle is the affected side. I loop this around my left foot and hold the strap in my left hand, adding as much tension as you can. Then you're gonna take the affected foot and try that eversion motion, bringing it out away from the midline. Still sitting up nice and tall. And just trying not to rotate too much from the knee. We're really trying to get all of the motion in the ankle. And as you can see, I'm not using something that has a lot of elasticity, and I don't have a lot of motion in my ankle here with this resistance when I'm not rotating from the knee. A lot of times we want to just get a better motion, or what we think is a better motion, but it's gonna strengthen that tendon more. And if you have to hold on to the knee to see if it's trying to move, you can do that as well until you feel comfortable enough to release. And then you can repeat that on the left side if you want, or if you're good with just doing whatever ankle has been affected, that's fine. From here, we can start with some standing stretches, getting rid of your props. I'll set this back to its normal position. Okay, so we have a lot of yoga poses that we could do to help with this ankle here. I'm gonna lower this so you can see my feet more. Warrior One is a great posture, I think, for the ankles. It really strengthens, everything from the waist down, but I think it works great on the ankles. Warrior One, you're gonna bring the unaffected leg in front to start, or you can start on your good side if you'd rather start on your good side and then do your bad side. You're gonna take whatever foot is injured behind you when you're ready. And this isn't like a lunge where both feet are facing forward. We are turning that heel in so that my toes here are at a diagonal from my front foot, which is forward. We bend into this front knee so that the knee is right over the ankle, or it can be less. If the hamstring is tight here, or if it hurts too much on this ankle, you can bend less. You just don't want to bend more. You don't want the knee to go over the toes and over the ankle. This back leg, the heel stays on the ground if possible, and then just pressing that leg so it's nice and straight and strong. The hips are square here, so they're both shining in front of you. Option to bring the hands over the head for the full expression of the pose. Your gaze is straight ahead. Now, holding this posture, I feel this in my ankles. I feel this in my Achilles tendon quite a bit, and I feel it in the front of my ankle as well, and into the side there where those peroneal tendons are. You can hold this for as long as feels good. If you're still coming back from your injury and that doesn't feel good to do that full pose, I have a couple of modifications for you. We can always take a folding chair and use that for support. We can bring whichever foot is good in front, and we can find those warrior one feet where that back foot is at a 45-degree angle, and we can stretch here. And you can bear as much weight as you need to in those hands to alleviate that ankle until it becomes strong enough to maybe take one hand away, maybe take two hands away, and then eventually finding the full expression of the pose. Now with this chair, we can also find different stretches. We can take that ankle back behind us, and now both of my toes are facing straight ahead. So this is just a simple lunging stretch that you can do at home. And again, my front knee is right over the ankle, my heel is into the ground in the back, my leg is straight. I'm stretching the calf here, which in turn is stretching those tendons that are attached to the calf. Now from here, what we can do to get into the soleus muscle, we bend that back knee to disengage the calf muscle, and then we're getting into the soleus muscle instead. Now we still want to send that heel towards the ground, so we might need to shorten the stance a little bit to be able to bend that knee and stretch into that leg. We might want to set the hips back a little bit. Still trying to keep the hips square facing forward. And you can even lift up and bend. Just doing whatever feels right. This may be uncomfortable if those tendons are super, super tight. Maybe we need to keep the leg straight instead of bending in. Eventually, we can find our high lunge, and we could even start to dip the knee and lower. And this is going to in turn just help strengthen the lower half of the body. We're getting into the quads now and the hamstrings. We're still stretching those calves though, and in turn strengthening those tendons that come with it. I'm still getting movement in my ankle as I do this. And then you can come out of that whenever you're ready. Another posture that you can do, or exercise that you can do, is calf raises. Calf raises help strengthen the calves, which help strengthen the tendons that attach to them. I did a ton of calf raises when I was doing my Accutane treatment because it really did help ease the pain in those tendons. So making sure that the feet are hip width apart, and you can always hold on to your chair, or if you feel like you can bring the hands to heart center. And what you want to do is just lift up onto the balls of the feet, onto the toes, and slowly lower down. We don't want to lift up and slam the feet. We want to use control, and we don't want to rock back and up, swinging the hips. We want all of this to be engaged and use control as we lift and lower. Now, once you get the hang of this, you can lift, lower the heels, and then you can lift the toes. But But again, trying not to get too much momentum here. We don't want to swing the hips forward and back. We want to keep everything nice and neutral, lifting onto the toes, lowering the heels, lifting the toes, lowering the toes, lifting the heels, lowering the heels, lifting the toes, lowering the toes. And you can do that as many times as is comfortable. You might only be able to do 10 of those, and then you might need to stop if the injury is still there working its way out. Eventually, you might be able to do 5 sets of 10 or 10 sets of 10 eventually. Another good exercise that we can do are balancing yoga poses. Our ankles are what stabilize us a lot of the times. It's the hips and the ankles. And in order to help improve our balance, which will help strengthen the ankles, we can do standing balancing yoga poses. So the first one that comes to my mind is Warrior 3. Virabhadrasana 3, we can come to a chair if we need to, and we're going to make sure that our standing leg, which is the one that is injured, should be your standing leg so that you can strengthen that injury. Making sure that that ankle is right under the knee, right under the hip. We can come to our chair. We're going to flex the other foot. Squaring off the hips, we're going to send that leg straight behind. You can hold here until you build strength. Eventually, maybe releasing one hand, maybe releasing two. Hands can come to heart center. They can come up in front of you. When I reach my hands overhead, I feel those tendons in my ankle stretching. As long as it doesn't hurt, feeling a stretch, feeling things move around is okay. That means you're working. That means those things are releasing tension, which is what we want. We want to release tension, ease inflammation, and then strengthen. So another standing balancing posture that has many different levels that you can work up to is tree pose or vrikshasana. Now tree pose, again, you're going to want the standing leg to be the one that you want to build the strength in. And again, in yoga, you typically do things on both sides. So if you want to start on your good side and then go to the injured side, feel free to do that, or you can do it the other way around. You're going to ground into whatever foot you're starting on. And then that foot is eventually going to work its way to the inside of the thigh. We're pressing this standing thigh and this raised foot together. I'm actively squeezing both together. And that in turn engages the muscles of the standing leg, which is helping to strengthen that ankle. Hands can always stay at heart, or we can lift them up above the head once we've mastered this pose. Finding your drishti or your gaze is important here. Now, we might not just be able to start in the full expression of tree. So there are many other options that you can do, other variations or modifications. We can take the foot to the calf or the inside of the shin here, or we can even kickstand. This is still going to work the balance of that standing leg to kickstand. It might be a better option if the ankles are weak to kickstand for a while. And then once you feel like you've strengthened, bring it to the calf. And then once you feel like that's easy, bring it to the inside of the thigh. Just never put it on your knee joint. You don't want to press the foot into the knee. You could injure yourself as well. So those are a few exercises and stretches and yoga poses that should help with those ankles, help with those tendons, starting to strengthen them. And once you've mastered all of those things where they start to become easy, then you can move on into your yoga practice. So those were just a couple stretches, exercises, and yoga asanas that you can do from home to help strengthen, stretch, and build on those ankles so that you can build upon your practice and continue your yoga practice at home or at a studio. I hope this helped and I hope you enjoyed this video. Please, if you have any questions, any comments, anything that you would like to see done, Please comment below. Let me know what videos you're looking for, and I'd be happy to make something for you. Continue to subscribe, continue to share with your friends. Next week's video, I think, is going to be all about pranayama or breath control. So if you would like, make sure to tune in, keep an eye out, and I will post that next week. Thank you all so much for joining me today. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. I wish happiness and freedom to all living things, and may the words, thoughts, and actions of my own life contribute in some way to happiness and freedom for all. Thank you so much for watching. Namaste.